To celebrate the return of the Premier League, Tifo is offering 40% off an annual subscription to The Athletic for a limited time only. Please see the link in the description for more details. As we approach the summer transfer window, nobody is quite certain what level of impact the COVID-19 pandemic will have on player movement. Whatever the outcome may be though, MLS's changing priorities make a move for Gareth Bale or any other high-priced European moving towards their career's twilight unlikely. The league has changed its definition of the ideal designated player. The Beckham rule originally seemed like a mechanism to give the world's former finest a North American swan song. David Beckham, Thierry Henry, Cuauhtémoc Blanco, Freddie Ljungberg and others took up residence in cities like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago and Seattle. Quickly, however, MLS clubs came to a consensus that simply signing a star wouldn't bring success on and off the pitch. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that players' agents and clubs won't still try reaching out to MLS teams. Gareth Bale has in fact already been offered to at least one Eastern Conference club in the past, but was swiftly turned down, sources have told The Athletic. The reality is that the days of paying over $7 million annually for a player with little return on investment potential are more or less over. Over recent years, designated players have become younger. In 2014, the average new designated player was 28.5 years old. In 2020, that figure stands at 25.3 years old, and even that is up from 2018's 23.3. Increasingly, the competition's biggest stars aren't just there for a retirement paycheck. Now that's partly by design. In 2014, the league created its young designated player rule to incentivize more forward-thinking acquisitions. And while many clubs had mixed results with their first young DPs, the gold standard came in late 2016, when expansion club Atlanta United paid $8 million to Lanús in Argentina for versatile forward Miguel Almiron. 2 years later, and 2 MLS Cup victories later, he was sold to Newcastle United of the Premier League for around $25.7 million. Now, rather than just being a way to overpay for a fading star, MLS clubs were encouraged to see the value of investing in players on the rise. In February 2020, the league also adjusted its roster rules, decreasing the percentage of transfer fees it retained when franchises sold non-homegrown players to foreign clubs. It also allowed clubs to then invest more of that money into their own salary budget. The recent comings and goings of Wayne Rooney and Zlatan Ibrahimovic suggest a different trend. However, by virtue of their star power and marketability, both players were impactful in unusual ways. There are exceptions. In reality, very few players can offer such return on investment, both on the pitch and through sponsorships, ticket and merchandise sales. Didier Drogba and Kaká were recent success stories in Montreal and Orlando, and another is Javier Hernandez, who made his MLS debut for LA Galaxy in February as Ibrahimovic's replacement. With a $6 million annual salary, he is the league's highest paid player. So, why Hernandez and not Bale, or someone like Luis Suarez or Philippe Coutinho? Well, because Hernandez is still the biggest star in Mexican football, and Liga MX continues to get better viewing figures than MLS across the United States, or any European league for that matter. He may be older than most MLS teams would like their starting centre forward to be, but his signing was highly logical, both in terms of Hernandez's sporting value and his capacity to divert attention away from Galaxy's neighbours, Los Angeles FC, and their own high-profile Mexican forward, Carlos Vela. Vela has been the ideal long-term designated player, like Josef Martinez of Atlanta and Sebastian Giovinco, formerly of Toronto FC. All three joined MLS near or in their prime, and with something left to prove after failing to make their mark at the top levels in Europe. Considering all they've accomplished in their careers, it's unlikely that Gareth Bale or any other highly decorated 31-year-old would be able to replicate that same dynamic, if he'd even get the opportunity. Following the Almiron sale, Atlanta are using all three of their designated player spots on 20-something South American attackers. Josef Martinez, of course, but also Ezequiel Baco and González Pity Martinez. Most MLS teams now have their sights fixed on similar targets, if perhaps not quite on the same scale. Even New York City FC, who paid handsomely for the dwindling talents of David Villa, Andrea Pirlo and Frank Lampard, haven't signed an international star since 2018. In fact, one-time Arsenal prospect Gideon Zelalem, now 23, is likely the only player most Europeans will have heard of. It's a very different world, Outside the MLS, of course, but also inside. The competition has some way to go to become a true trusted feeder league, but that transition is underway, with American soccer no longer an easy final destination or somewhere to collect a quick buck. The football is back, and to celebrate, Tifo is giving away 40% off annual subscriptions to The Athletic for a limited time. That's just £3 per month in the UK with similar value worldwide. At The Athletic, we care about your club, so we don't just cover the big teams. Every Premier League team has its own dedicated journalists, plus our brilliant team in the United States covering MLS, not to mention 10 other sports. It's the best sports writing online, and you can be part of it with your 40% discount by clicking the link below. Thanks so much for supporting Tifo, and bring on the football.